o'clock, and it's time to begin our October the 1st meeting. And let me say, it's certainly nice to see each and every one of you here. We're proud that you came out to our meeting, and we'll get started at this time on the agenda. And the first item would be a finance report payment from center staff. Ms. Lisa, we recognize you at this time.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Lisa Strickland, Finance Director for the city, and we're here tonight to recognize the Finance Department Payment Center staff for achieving the highest tax rate that the city has ever held. The rate for fiscal year 2019, which was for the 2018 taxes, was 99.14%. With every 0.1% increase in the tax collection rate, it equates to about $11,000 in revenue for the city. The division has worked to increase this collection rate year over year, and they've done this by proactively making phone calls to taxpayers prior to advertisement for delinquency, and also reaching out to taxpayers that have had prior arrangements to make new arrangements. Tonight with me, if you guys want to come up, please. We have Bethany Hover, our city tax collector, Paula Taylor, the payment center supervisor, Anita Wallace, and Aaron Adcock. And I just want to tell you guys how much I appreciate the effort that you put in every day for the city and how proud I am of this great accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Great job. I do appreciate what you folks do. Thank you so much for what you do each and every day for our citizens.
Thank you.
Anyone else got
Thank you.
anything? Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Item 2, proclamation. Proclamation observing Hispanic Heritage Month. Mr.
Mayor,
Morgan, recognize you, sir.
thank you, Mayor, for allowing me the opportunity to do this. This is a proclamation observing Hispanic Heritage Month.
Excuse me, there's a representative down there that
Yes, Mr. Singh, if you would come up to the podium, please.
How you doing?
If you will allow me to read this, the mayor is going to present you with the proclamation. Whereas Monroe and Union County are home to people whose ancestry represents hundreds of nations, including Mexico, Spain, the Spanish-speaking nations of Central America, South America, the Caribbean, and whereas September 15th is the anniversary of the independence of 5 Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua. And whereas Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th and September 18th, respectively. And whereas Hispanic Americans have contributed to the prosperity and culture throughout the history of Monroe, Union County, the state of North Carolina, and our country. And whereas it is appropriate to increase Hispanic cultural awareness and diversity by paying tribute to the valuable contributions made by Hispanic Americans to our business, cultural, and educational communities. Now therefore, I, Bobby G. Kilgore, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Monroe, do hereby proclaim September 15th, 2019 through October 15, 2019 as Hispanic Heritage Month. The mayor will present you with that.
I think it's wonderful that we have
Mayor's
such a
good.
cultural
Mayor's-
diversity that merits this occasion.
Here we present this to you. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
So much. I had time set aside for her 45 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Item 3 is a proclamation observing National Community Planning Month. Ms. Luda, please.
proclamation observing National Community Planning Month. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to meaningfully be involved in making choices to determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas the American Planning Association and its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorse National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions planning and plan implementation make to the quality of our settlements and environment. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives an opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other civil planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Monroe. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners of the city of Monroe and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continual commitment to public service by these professionals. Therefore, I, Bobby G. Kilgore, by the virtue of the authority invested in me as mayor of the city of Monroe, do hereby proclaim and observe October 2019 as National Community Planning Month and encourage the local citizenry to participate in activities that foster awareness and appreciation of community planning functions that shape the present and future of Monroe, Union County, North Carolina, and America. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Monroe to be affixed this first day of October 2019. Bobby Kilgore.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do. Thank you so much. And we have one more at this time, observing Ribbon Week. Mr. Anderson, would you read that, sir?
Yes, sir.
And we have a gentleman
Yes.
here.
Gentlemen
Okay.
and folks that are going to come up, welcome. Glad to have y'all with us. Whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them, and whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Mecklenburg County Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities. And whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration special agent who was murdered in the line of duty and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. Whereas October 23rd through the 31st has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now therefore, I, Bobby G. Kilgore, Mayor of the City of Monroe, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through the 31st, 2019 as Red Ribbon Week in the City of Monroe and urge all citizens to join in this special observance.
Thank you so much. And if I could, real quick, I just want to say thank you to the city of Monroe. The more of these proclamations we get, the more chance we have to show the dangers of drugs and to clean up our streets. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for what you do with your organization. Thank you so much. It's very important what you folks do.
Thank you. Take care.
At this time, it's public comment period. Anyone here who would like to address the council? Okay, hearing none, we'll go right into the regular agenda, to the consent agenda, Larry.
Excuse me. Isn't that a sheet where people sign this?
I don't have anything. This is,
Brian didn't bring it?
this is on public period, comment period, or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, we go into the consent agenda, Larry. Well, okay, yeah, okay, I can do it either way, okay. All right, this time, we're gonna take item 12 and item 13, first, instead of putting it.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'll take item 12.
Sir, but just a minute, let me get, I'm gonna second. Item, we're gonna move in from the last up to the first instead of, for you folks, you're welcome to stay all night with us if you'd like, but certainly we're gonna move this to the first, so there's gonna be a little bit of time. We'll do, item 13 first, Winchester facility signage. This was tabled in August the 20th for the citizens' input, and certainly we have received that, and it was very well received. And I think the council is, I guess the council's ready to vote. I'm gonna ask them if we have a motion for the Winchester facility signage.
Mayor, I make a motion that we take what we've heard from the citizens. I know I got an email from President Haywood Hilliard.
Yes.
I make a motion that we make that signage say the Winchester Recreation Complex as the citizens have requested.
All right, I have a motion. Yes, do I have a second?
Mayor,
Yes, I'm sorry.
usually when we do things like this, there's a proclamation that the staff has put together for us to adopt or not adopt.
I haven't
Then
saw
not
it.
necessarily, in this particular case, it would be that you have the public input and then council action can formally name it or formally reject it. It does not require, your policy does not require a proclamation or a resolution of council. It merely requires an action of council.
Okay, well, I think that, we should follow the regular protocol, and I also want to say that it was tabled from August 17th, and I want to also state that the petitions that we turned in did have 517 names. The reason I mentioned the number is I want to emphasize the importance it was to the community, because this is an historic area. It makes it an historical vote. And again, that I appreciate all of those persons that made their voices heard. And it's important because it helps to bring the community together. Those are just my comments.
Mayor, you have a motion that's been made, and I think you were calling for a second, and I would,
I'll second the motion.
thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
On readiness, Mayor. I understand that we have the motion that it's naming the area. Right now, the sign says the Baseball Center. And a lot of the petitions that went out, I think the petitions may have said Winchester Center, not Winchester Recreation Center.
It said Winchester Community Center.
Yeah, okay,
Just
Winchester.
for clarification, the sign currently reads Winchester Recreation Complex. So I want to, for clarification, if it is going to be changed to the Winchester Community Center, I think as Mr. Jordan's indicating.
That's what I'm trying, I just want to clarify.
Staff would like clarification as we are looking for direction tonight and how we need to change that sign.
Okay, point of order. I think it will still say Winchester Complex, because it names various aspects of the complex.
That's correct.
But the part that says specifically the recreation part, we're talking Winchester Community Center.
Mr. Jordan?
Okay, as long as that clarification is made, if the motion could be amended to.
Would the maker of the motion agree with that amendment?
Yes.
And would the seconder agree as well?
In this report, I think one of the issues was the actual name of the building, so that we don't come to this place again with the same problem. I make the motion that it's understood that the building is.
Ma'am,
If we could
one
go ahead
motion
and
at a
do,
time.
yeah, if we can do this one.
We got a motion and a second. We have a discussion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Now, I have some folks that signed up, and,
Ma'am, just before we do.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna redo my motion. I move, for the sake of clarity, that that the building is actually the Winchester Community Center, because that was part of the confusion before.
Mayor, I believe the motion that was made and then amended.
That's what I amended it
Per Councilmember Jordan's request, I think it said that.
Yes.
I believe
Would
it.
you reread it, please?
I don't have it in front of me, ma'am, but what I did hear is that it was that the building, the facility would be named the Winchester Community Center.
Is that what you said?
And when originally it was slightly different, but Councilmember Jordan made a suggestion. Mayor Pro Tem Anderson agreed with that suggestion. So did Councilmember Holloway, who seconded the motion. So the motion that was made, seconded, amended, and approved by the council names it the Winchester Community Center.
Okay, thank you. So we're straight now. It's the signage and the building. Thank you.
Okay, as I said, that is done, but I do have some folks that signed up, and if they do want to speak, I'll be happy to give them the opportunity to speak. Would anybody here who has signed up for the Winchester facility signage, who would like to speak? I'll give you the opportunity to speak if you like. Yes, sir, Reverend.
Yes,
If you
Melvin
get-
Tate.
Yes, sir, name and address, and if you could hold it to 3 minutes, we would appreciate it, because we'll probably have several.
Well, I'm not preaching tonight.
Well, I'd already have a plate out.
I would gladly receive an offering. But I am happy, first of all, to see that obviously some coming together of minds has taken place. I came tonight after having, as an old lady in South Carolina said to me one time, she said, Reverend, I won't be in church Sunday because I'm having these Cadillacs removed from my eyes. So I had one Cadillac removed from this right eye. But I thought it my responsibility to get up and come out to be here tonight. I think it's significant that if we're going to move ahead in Union County in general, Monroe, the city of Monroe in particular, that we celebrate all of our ethnic heritages, and our history ought to matter, because everyone in this community helps make Monroe the place that it is. And our future is headed in a better place after witnessing what I've seen here tonight. We have a tendency to white out black history and to delete it, delete the hallowed, sacred achievement and accomplishments of our people. There's a movie, Hidden Figures. One of those women that helped send the first rocket into space was from Monroe. We have other things that we could celebrate, but I'm going to knock that off. But I hope that we will be reminded that in August, in 1619, there's a project now, the New York Times is printing an article, Project 1619, where 20 to 35 Africans were bought and sold into slavery in Concord, Virginia. I submit to you that those articles are saying not much has changed since 1619, because we're still having to prove ourselves. It is strange that immigration is a hot issue, but Africans are not immigrants. We didn't come here because we wanted to. We were brought here and then treated with the worst inhuman kindness to humankind that has ever existed. Holocaust victims, Jewish victims, at least they will preserve their heritage, their religion, their names. Our names, our language was stripped from us. So I'm here tonight because I felt the Spirit of the Lord moving upon me to address this house, that all that we do in the future, since we're here on Rosh Hashanah, which is a time that we celebrate the heritage, that we light up the beginning of the new year in Jewish culture. This is a new beginning for us. This is the beginning of a new year. And I'm happy to see all of you, and I hope that we can go from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, where all of us will celebrate a day of atonement and reconciliation. But most of all, we will celebrate this, what I call the 8th Jubilee and Shemitah. And the Shemitah means that you forgive everything that has been done wrong, that you give back to the people that have been taken away from. I ask you, we've had enough history of taking away. Let's now give something back, and let's be a better community. And regardless of the race, color, creed, or religion, we're all human beings, and that we respect that. And Your Honor, I still owe you breakfast, and we're gonna go over and eat up everything they got at Hilltop. And the rest of you, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your service, and I want to thank you for coming together, showing this community that you can. And if can I be mayor for a few seconds?
Yes, sir.
Could I ask this audience to give a standing ovation, an ovation for what has happened here tonight?
I have one question.
Reverend, thank you so much. I want to say thank you, and I stood out in front of the place we supposed to be for 3 days waiting on you. You never showed. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Jackie Crawford.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I heard the proclamation, y'all said it's proved and everything, but I would like to hear read out exactly what is on the plaque to be, in the order, everything that you've got on there.
You talking about for the signage?
Yeah.
Well,
I believe what it states is that the
I'll-
facility will be named Winchester Community Center.
let's be sure.
I'll
Don't
defer
you
to
have
the
a
clerk,
copy?
but I believe that's the exact,
Is that-
that is what and I'll defer to the clerk and the Parks and Recreation Director, Mayor, but I believe that's what the motion said.
Is that what you folks have got? Did that answer your question?
Not until I see it.
Well,
I'm hearing what he said,
Yeah.
but that's not.
The current sign we have now has City of Monroe across the top. It has Winchester Recreation Complex. Under that, the sign today has Bazemore Community Center. What I'm hearing is that it's going to remain the same, City of Monroe across the top. It will still remain Winchester Recreation Complex, but where it has Bazemore Community Center, that will be changed to Winchester Community Center, and everything else on the sign will remain as is. Is that correct?
I can't see, but yeah. That looks like it's gonna be right, if what you're saying.
that answer your question, Ms. Crawford? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name's Tiffany Wilson, and I actually live in Barbie Farms, but my grandmother, who's here with me tonight, is 87 years old. Grandma, stand up. She lives in the Winchester area. She was born in that area. I'm happy that tonight the board has decided to change it to or remain the name as the Winchester Center. I would just challenge the city council in speaking with a lot of people from that area who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. That area was historic to them, and it should be historic to us. That area for blacks back in the day was doctors, lawyers, tradesmen. That was the core of their community. We have historical Monroe, downtown Monroe. I asked the city to look over into the Winchester area. There's not many buildings left over there, but some of those buildings are historical sites, and they need to be preserved and reserved so that we don't forget our history. Understanding changing the name is the first step, I'm glad the name is still the same, but we need to go one step further and make sure we're educating so kids younger than myself, people in their 30s, their 20s, their teens, understand the importance. They had teen centers back in the day. At one time, the city was looking at a teen center for the Winchester Center. I challenge y'all to look back into that so we can rebuild the Winchester area and build it back up to what it was back in the 20s, 30s, and get that historical value back.
Thank you very much. Mr. Haywood Hill, we'd like to recognize you this time, sir.
My name is Haywood Hilliard, and I spend every night for the last few years in the Winchester community. I live middle ways between the community center on Boyd Street, and also I'm here at McDonald's. I can look from my carport and notice what's going on in Crab Park. So I am in the center of Winchester community. Winchester community has made history from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. My wife graduated in the 50s at the top of her class, went on to Buffalo, became a teacher in the Buffalo school system, and that's where she retired. Many of her sisters also graduated. One sister was on a championship basketball team. One sister went to Buffalo also and became a teacher. So history has been made. The lady that's staying, my niece that's staying with my wife tonight, she graduated in the last class in 1966, Monroe High. Winchester High. The next class, 67, went to Monroe High. So the history had already been made in those years. But when the building burned, but not their spirit. Because on the third weekend in August, we all celebrated. And it's just happy days again. We have started on Thursday night with registration. Friday night, we have a banquet. But before the banquet, there's a business meeting. Saturday, we go up to the gym, Winchester area, backside of the gym and the daycare center, and we have what we call a fish fry for about 3 or 4 hours. The community is invited, not just Winchester alone. We call ourselves the Winchester alone. No matter what grade you were, if you went there in the first grade, you still are represented as well as the people that graduated. Okay, so our spirits are high. On Sunday, we have a dance on Saturday night, and on Sunday we ended in one of the churches in Monroe. So history of Winchester is buried in our roots. So therefore, we are happy to know tonight that it's going to remain there. In our small group, we went ahead and made signs this says, this is a sample copy from 20 or 25 people of what we want the plaque to say. We also want the final vote to be extended 2 more months. And the reason for that, we don't want the plaque reprinted again until we have input in it. So we got to have time. It has to be a call meeting, and 400 or 500 people signed up. They should have a voice. This is just from 20 people. So therefore, is it possible for us to extend that time and give us time to have a call meeting, and more people should be involved in what's going to be written on the plaque? I don't think that's an unreasonable request. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Heller, we will address that and look into it and get back to you, sir.
I have extra sheets if you'd like to look at them.
Well, if you would like to give me one, I'll be glad to take it. And we'll do some action on it tonight. We won't act on it tonight, but
I got sheets
we
for
will.
every councilman.
Well, if you'll just give them to me, I'll see that everybody gets them.
You just give you one?
Yeah, give me all of them, and
Okay.
I'll see they all get them.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we don't need it. Give me a few back if somebody else has one. That's good.
I need 7.
You took
Okay, I got one. Thank you, sir. All right.
Yeah, that was USO during World War II. It was Camp 7. So that was also the Black Library. It should be
Okay.
black.
Okay.
Bob.
My name is Barbara McKinney, and so much has already been said that I would have said. However, I could not sit there and not remind you about the things that the Winchester Avenue Rec Center had during the time, because I grew up on Winchester. I went to Winchester. My mom was a teacher at Winchester, and she had the Girl Scouts with Miss Perry there. We also had our sock hops. We did all those things to remember. We had weddings and proms and receptions there, and those are memories that I have, and I just did not want that to be changed. The USO was there. Not only was the USO there, there was a black library. Sue's mom and another cousin, Eva Perry, they were the ones that ran the black library. There was also Girl Scout meetings, and Maharney's Club met there. You know, the building is gone, but the memories live on. And we will always remember those good times that we had when I was a girl. And then you know how old I am. So at that recreation center. And therefore we respect it as Winchester, because that is the time that we had there. And thank you for remaining the Winchester Avenue Center.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. Would anyone else like to speak? Hear none? Oh, yes, sir.
I would ask that some type of plaque be placed there to acknowledge the historic presence of that building. And it is really more personal to me because my great-grandfather gave the original land for that building. So I'm asking you, as I come down Lancaster Avenue or through that area, there's plenty of plaques that tells about the Confederate War or whatever. Where are our plaques?
Well, as I talked to Mr. Hillard a while ago, we'll certainly address that, and it'll come up. Certainly we won't address it or vote on it tonight, but we will address that.
In the near future.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Before you leave, sir, can you give us your name and address so the clerk has that for the minutes?
Brent Anthony, 911 Belton Street. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Robert Heath. I'm a former president of Winchester Alumni Association. We thank you for not changing that name. That's our home. That's our beginning. That's our future for our kids to come by. We put the Buffalo there at the Alumni Association in 2015 to recognize that, because that was our history. The school burned down suspiciously in 1966 because it was never ever said who burned it down. But we do know that was the beginning of integration in the city of Monroe. But we just thank you for not taking that away from our name, because we have very little, as our pastor said earlier. It's very few things left in this community that represent us. So we need to keep that and keep it growing, because our future is no better than our past. Because our past is our foundation. And many of us, for example, even concerned now is that we've had many things taken from us. Even the first black hospital was now beginning to have something built on there that has nothing to do with that again. That's a shame. That's the Dr. Massey Hospital on Quality Hill. Right now you're building 2 homes there. Why, I don't know. But that's why it's important, something as small as Winchester, to our community, and not allow that to happen. But we need to keep going and make sure. And Mr. Bazemore, the Bazemore name is very, very important to all of us, to you. And we do suggest, if you want to put something with Bazemore name on it, make it someplace in the city because he was a city councilman, and that's what she should put it to represent, because he represented the whole city, not just Winchester. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
At this time when they're coming, I just want to note that the Bazemore meeting room will remain on the building. That will not be taken off. So the Bazemore meeting room is a part of the facility. We just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that as well.
Yes, ma'am, did you want to speak? Come right up, ma'am. Your name and address, please, for the clerk, so we'll have a record.
I sure will. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Geneva Craig Clark. It gives me great pleasure to stand here before you to speak on the subject of the Winchester and the Bazemore topic. I don't have to go through what I had already thought about and what I was going to say, because everything has been resolved from the fact that we're still going to keep it as the Winchester Community Area Center. But I also wanted to talk to you about the good times that we did have at Winchester. We came up, I did, as a little girl from Winchester, and we had all kind of activities that was given to us during that particular time. And we had wonderful memories, memories that no one can take away from us. Memories that is stored inside of us from the good times, and then also from the teachers, the professors, the clergymen that taught us all about the Christianity of our community, the love and the support that we had for each other to help one another out during that particular time. We have experienced a lot during our time growing up from the Winchester area. I know I remember a lot of things like from the school, the community area, the sock hop at Winchester, the bonfire, the maypole. All of those are memories that we have now still inside of us. And I'm happy to know that you're still going to keep the Winchester name community as it is, because it is very important, not only to me, but for so many people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
I guess I'll be the last speaker. How's everybody tonight? My name is James Johnson. I live at 312 Wilson Street in Monroe, North Carolina. Good evening to the councilman, mayor, and even Bridget. How you doing? Anyway, I want to thank you all for keeping the name change to Winchester and hearing the voices of the people. I know that there was a little bit of contention maybe when it all came about, but we all somehow, our minds came together and we heard and supported the voice of the people. And I just want to say thank you for that. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Maurice Robinson, 1405 Pearl Avenue. And everything has been said, and I appreciate that we still have the name. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. All right. Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, we'll close this one and go to the next item. Thank you,
Mayor.
each and every one.
Mayor.
Yes.
Hey.
Let me get it moved up.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to you. We'll go to item 12 at this time, Senior Center Facilities Signage.
Mayor, it is one of the proudest things I've ever done since I've been on the city council to talk about a man that was a gentleman, a consensus builder, and did as much for Monroe being on the city council as anybody that's ever served. His name is Phil Bazemore. The pre-K building in Winchester, that's there because of Phil Bazemore, his love for pre-K. The Armory that is in Quality Hills, that's there because of Phil Bazemore. Phil Bazemore was a gentleman. He's the one that came up with the name Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard from 200 South to Dickerson. His love for kids was unbelievable. He was a gentleman. He was respected. He was our first member of the board of directors of the National League of Cities. Anytime we had a problem in Raleigh, who did we send? We sent Phil Bazemore. If we had a problem in Washington, D.C., who did we send? We sent Phil Bazemore because he was respected. And you know, it's funny, you look back at the growth of Monroe since he went on in 1981, and it was phenomenal. And he was there every bit of the way. He had a common effect. We all respected him, and we all loved him. And we're fixing to build a new senior center where the Enquirer Journal building is located. It will be 20,000 square feet, where the one that we presently have is 9,000 square feet. And I would like to make the motion tonight that we name that center, senior facility, the Phil Bazemore Senior Center.
I have a question.
That is my motion.
I have a question, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I echo everything that you said. Mr. Bazemore was a wonderful man. He contributed a lot to the city of Monroe, to the state of North Carolina. I have utmost respect and admiration for him. But my question is, we cannot rewrite history, and we cannot take away from one family to give to another. As I understand it, Ellen Fitzgerald, and by the way, that's the only building in Monroe named after a woman, gave the land for the first hospital in 1921. And her house was moved to accommodate that building. Her house later became a convalescent home. And I would suggest that we name another building, a new building for Mr. Bazemore. That way we will be affording him the honor and respect that he so rightfully deserves. But I don't want to interrupt history. I don't think it's fair to the family of Ellen Fitzgerald. I don't think it's fair to her memory. And while I'm in agreement that Mr. Bazemore perhaps deserves more honor and recognition, it is my hope that we don't tamper with history and that we don't ignore her contributions and that we retain the name even though the building is moving. The concept is not. That's all I have.
The name of the Ellen Fitzgerald will stay on the building. What it is, Ellen Fitzgerald, the Fitzgerald family gave the land for the hospital. Then the building was built. That name will stay on that building. But in moving the senior center to the new location, in my opinion, you could not find a more deserving person than Phil Bazemore. Nobody on this city council that I've served on in a long time is as much of a gentleman and deserves that recognition as Phil Bazemore. And my motion is that we name it the Phil Bazemore Senior Center.
I'm not negating that Mr. Bazemore hasn't given a lot to this community. However, just like Councilwoman Saluda said, the name of the senior center is the Ellen Fitzgerald Senior Center. And I don't feel like we should change that name, with that being said.
Mayor, if I might, from a procedural standpoint, because this is being done under your naming policy, before the motion can be made, but before it's seconded and move forward, you do have to receive some sort of public input from those that are here. So if you wish to move forward with that after initial discussion, then council can make a motion and then continue to discuss it. But I think you do have members of the public who have signed up, so that would be up to the council if it wishes to take that public input that your policy requires.
Do we need a second first, Machine?
I would suggest that you could have that, except for I would suggest that the motion be remade after the conclusion of the public input, so that way you've had the public input and it's not seen as discussion on the motion.
Okay.
Now, you did the one before differently.
It's actually because you already had public input at the prior meeting, and you had received additional public input And so this is an entirely new set of public input. That would be why, that's why it's different from the other one.
Okay. I do have two people signed. Somebody, did I hear something? Okay. Oh, yes, sir. Well, I ain't got there yet. I will recognize you. I do have some people signed up, and at this time, and I'm going to take them in order that they've signed. I recognize Ms. Doris Wheeler at this time. Ms. Wheeler, if you give your name and address, please, for the clerk, so we'll have a record.
My name is Doris Wheeler, and my address is 209 East Old Highway 74, Monroe.
All right, go right ahead.
I'd like to suggest we name the center for, as she said, Ellen Fitzgerald is appropriate, since she gave them the land and this sort of thing. No need to change the name, just put it on the new building. I don't see a reason to change the name. She's the only woman that has been so honored. So I would suggest we stay with Ellen Fitzgerald.
Okay. Very good. I have Miss Patricia Poland signed to speak. Ms. Poland, we recognize you this time, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm Patricia Poland, 2307 Snowcrest Court, Monroe. I'm just going to kind of read my email that I sent to y'all this week, but I'm going to change it a little bit since I've heard a little bit of different things tonight. Thank you, Mr. McGee, and thank you, Ms. Anthony, both for your input. When I heard that the new Senior Citizen Center would be renamed, it caused me some concern because I cannot think of another example where a woman who played a very defining part of the town of Monroe's history has been publicly honored. In renaming the center, the name of Ellen Fitzgerald will fade from the collective memory of the local residents, and the single honor to local women's history will disappear. Please understand, I have nothing against the fine name and the fine reputation of Philip Bazemore, and I do recall that there is a street that has also been renamed for him that is beside the Winchester Community Center. I do believe that something additional could be found to honor Mr. Bazemore, whereas I'm very hard-pressed to know what else could bear Ellen Fitzgerald's name. If the building is sold, it will become something else. Yeah, you can put a little plaque there, but who is going to go by a now privately held building and go see this plaque? Having that name does give people pause to say, oh, who is Ellen Fitzgerald and why have you named a building after her? The fact that it's no longer going to be on her land is neither here nor there. The hospital that she stipulated be built by the city and run by the city is no longer there either, and we don't mind that. So I feel like if you wanted to perhaps explore the North Carolina State Highway Historical Marker Program, if you wanted to do something further for Ellen Fitzgerald, because I think the name needs to stay with the Senior Citizen Center wherever it goes. But there is one significant thing in the history of the hospital. The State Highway Historical Marker Program requires that it be a significant piece of history for the state, okay? And of course, this would require some research to make sure that this is true. But it has been said that in 1953, when Union Memorial opened, then Ellen Fitzgerald became a long-term facility for critically ill patients. And it has been said that this is the first long-term care hospital in either North or South Carolina. So you do have a first there that would warrant a highway marker to be placed in that area. But again, I would like to see the Senior Citizen Center continue to be named Ellen Fitzgerald wherever it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Mr. Robert, we recognize you at this time, sir.
Robert Yanchek, 513 Everett Street. I wasn't going to speak, but it came up, and we have all these people here that want to preserve history in their neighborhoods, and I think it's vitally important that we preserve that. Bare minimum, I'd ask that you table this item until maybe December to where we can get some more input from the community and decide then. That's all I'd have to say.
Did you say?
I would suggest tabling the item until probably December, so we give people some time to give input, just like we did on the last one.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to speak on this? Yes, ma'am, I recognize Ms. Michelle.
My name's Michelle King. I live at 802 East Franklin Street in Monroe, North Carolina. I didn't plan to speak. I'm not on the speakers list, but you can certainly add me. Learning the history of the Ellen Fitzgerald Center, I'm still learning history being here 4 years, and understanding why changes are brought to, proposed by the council to the public. I don't often understand the intent or the motives behind it. However, I can tell you that it would be a grave mistake to change the name of the Ellen Fitzgerald Center. I didn't know Mr. Bazemore. I hear he's a wonderful friend of yours, or was. And
He's a friend of everybody.
okay, certainly you can name another project that's coming up in Monroe after him. Let's don't dismiss that. But Councilwoman Anthony's right. This is a female who should be recognized, along with Christina Darden, a lot of other females. And to take that away or to dismiss that is a fault and sends us back another 40 years. And I'm not going to stand here and let that happen. So thank you for your selection. I would not say we table this. I would say we make a motion to not change that name. When it's in the new center, it's the Ellen Fitzgerald Center, and we leave it as it is.
We got one.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Margaret Desio, and I live at 305 South Washington Street. And I've been a resident of Monroe my entire life. And I've known when the Ellen Fitzgerald Hospital was there, and I've known it to be a long-term care facility, and now I have known it to be a senior citizen center. The name Ellen Fitzgerald is associated with the site. It's where she gave the land. She moved the houses. She had came to have the hospital built. Ellen Fitzgerald is not associated with the Senior Citizen Center. She's associated with the corner of Mara Street and Haynes Street. The building should be there, and it should be named the Ellen Fitzgerald Building. The city owns it. It's not going to be sold. And whatever else it's used for, that name will remain Ellen Fitzgerald. Ellen Fitzgerald is associated with the site, not with a senior citizen center. So I am all for naming the new senior citizen center after Mr. Bazemore, who was a fine man. Thank you.
All right, is anyone else here who would like to speak? Mr. Heath, recognize you at this time, sir.
Thank you. My name again is Haywood Hilliard. I'm up today because when I moved here, I was told that the site was Ellen Fitzgerald's site, and we had to learn a lot about it. I don't remember the hospital, but for a few years, it's been the Ellen Fitzgerald Senior Citizen. It has provided a lot of activities for the senior citizens of our city. Now, we got to remember, it was 1920 before any woman could vote in the United States of America. 1920, and they had to go out in the street and protest like we did in the Civil Rights Movement. It just wasn't something that was given to them. A president's wife and daughter couldn't vote. A president had twins, a boy and a girl. They would go and vote in 1919, 1918, and tell their wives to stay home and make candy yams. Come back and tell them who all was there, and they said hello. Women have always been at home to raise families. Every one of us here was born by a woman. No one was born by a man. Why are we going to do this? It just doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. Hearing none, we'll close that. Okay.
Mayor, I make the motion that we name the senior center the Phil Bazemore Senior Center.
All right, I have a motion.
Can I have a clarification? I think for purposes, are you referring to the new one or the current?
To the new one.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
I would say, I agree with what Margaret said. Everyone that knows the history knows that the Fitzgerald family had that property. Matter of fact, Richard Harding Davis on his Facebook page has done history on that, and if you go back and search for it, you'll be able to see it. Speaking with Ms. Poland earlier, it's the site that we're preserving. She had, like I say, she had no clue about a senior center. The senior center could go anywhere. The Fitzgerald property is fixed right where it is, and that's where we need to preserve her legacy and pay tribute to a family that gave such a nice gift to the city of Monroe and the citizens.
Another point. One of the speakers had a suggestion that we get more community input. Is that possible?
No, ma'am, my motion stands.
Well, it's up to the motion in a second or the council, you know. Well, I've got a motion in a second now, you know, if you want to.
Yeah, we'll vote, but I think it's always important that we hear from the citizens.
Yep.
And because we're here to represent the entire citizenship of Monroe. And to me, it's just always important that we have input from citizens.
And you want to table it to December and get input? Okay, that's a no.
What are you afraid of?
I'm sorry?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. My name is Cassandra Thomas Gerloff. What are you afraid of bringing to the community? Why don't you table it and let us take it out and see what comes back? If you're so sure what you want, then let's do it.
He's a fine man. He deserves everything that I've said tonight. And
She was a fine woman.
she
We're
was,
fine people.
no kidding, you are, no
All right.
question.
So what are you afraid of? Let us do this. Table it
All right.
and bring it back.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll send another letter. Did you raise your hand?
Michelle King, 802 East Franklin Street, Monroe, NC. So I want it to come public. Are you proposing, Councilman Holloway and Councilman Keziah, that the site that you say the name is associated with the site, are you committing tonight? I don't change my mind. I'm not changing my mind, what I'm proposing. But are you saying in public forum that that property will remain an Ellen Fitzgerald Center or property?
Yes, ma'am.
That's been said all.
And can you also say what's going in that facility, in that property?
It'll be something city oriented, and it will be,
I can't understand you.
it will be something of city staff, and it will be listed as Ellen Fitzgerald Center.
Okay, thank you, that's,
No, the name stays with that.
okay,
Let me
well,
just-
I still say the center should remain the Ellen Fitzgerald Center. Thank you, Mayor, for the clarification.
Let me just ask the city attorney
Yes, sir.
a question. Can we commit the actions of future councils? If a future council decides that they want to do something different with that Ellen Fitzgerald site, can they do that, or will they be allowed to do that?
You will have what the action that was taken as a precedent by you as a council. A future council could choose to act in accordance with your naming policy. However, the council would be apprised at that time that a discussion was held and a discussion was provided by the members of where they were. And a future council could decide to do something differently.
That's all.
However, they also could decide to keep things the same.
All right, that's what I was asking, and it was starting to sound like we could commit the actions of future councils, and I knew that was not correct, and I just wanted to have you state that to the public.
Okay, anything else?
You know?
And that being said, though, one other thing is we haven't looked at what any restrictions were placed on the land at the time, but however, you are correct, sir.
You know, it's amazing to me that, as Margaret Desio said, the land that was given for a hospital. The lady is definitely very important. is going to stay on that building, which is on the correct site. Phil Bazemore, for an African American, was our first mayor. Everything he did in a class manner. I thought it was an honor to name that after Phil Bazemore because he's a gentleman in every sense of the way. And it's amazing to me that all of a sudden, there are a lot of people here tonight for Mr. Bazemore. Quite a few. Would y'all like to stand up, the ones that are here for Mr. Bazemore? I believe that's way over half that's here for Mr. Bazemore. Ma'am?
Wait,
You
well,
sure
for
can.
clarification, they're here because there's an issue. Because is it on the first thing that was Mr. Bazemore too? So because they're standing, don't mean that they're here for the Ellen Fitzgerald said. It means they're here about Mr. Bazemore. So unless you're going to poll them individually, you don't know why they're here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Doris Massey, and I live at 1801 Ashcraft Avenue. And I was told that a room would be at this new place for Ellen Fitzgerald Center. A room would be in Bazemore name. Now that's why I came, for a room, not for the name to be changed. So since that seemed like I was here for the wrong thing.
That was my point. They're here for Mr. Bazemore, but everybody's got a different understanding.
Tiffany Wilson, 717 Barbie Farms Drive. I'm a woman. I believe in women's history. I'm an African American. I believe in African American history. For Union County, well, the city of Monroe, to only have one building named after a woman, of all the buildings out there, to come in today and say, well, we're going to honor Philip Bazemore, who is an African American, by taking away the only female building, it's kind of a stab in the face. If he was here today, would he say, take the name from from Fitzgerald and name it after me? I don't think he would. I don't think he was that type of person. I don't think there's anyone in here saying don't name a building after him. There's plenty of new buildings that you're creating, that you're establishing. Name a new establishment after him. Allow it to be honored in the way that he should be honored. And allow the Fitzgerald building, it's been a senior center. People know it as the Fitzgerald Senior Center. When you go to a senior citizen center, you're going to look it up. Oh, why is it named after Fitzgerald? If you just have a city building sitting there and it's not even being used, no one's going to look it up to see why. They're not going to look up the history. There's value in the women's history. Look at the council. There's one female. You said he's an excellent gentleman. She was an excellent woman. You have to remember that when you're looking at the history, it's stepping stones, it's building blocks. So I still recommend that you table it to let the community decide if they want to name the whole building after Bazemore, if they want a room named after him. Let the community know what's going on and let them have their voice. Thank you.
You want to table it and look at it?
What do you want to do?
Well, we're hearing a lot from both sides. One, Ms. Poland, I believe, talked about a road marker or something. There's a lot of things you can talk about. Certainly what we do here tonight, we need to get it right. I'm not saying whichever way we go that it's going to be right, but and we did do it. But, you know, I'm ready to vote if the council wants to vote. They want to postpone it and look at it in December and research something else. It's up to you if you want to do it or withdraw or whatever.
Well, it's to me, it's embarrassing to Phil Bazemore, the gentleman he is, because we're not taking anything away from Miss Fitzgerald. The land she gave, her name's still going to be on it. But in the same token, there's more people here supporting Mr. Bazemore than there are not supporting Mr. Bazemore. I can tell you that right now. I don't have a problem if the council wants to table it. We can table it. It's to me, it's an embarrassment, but.
What would be the procedure for the people who made the motion if, in order for us to table?
Under your code, a motion to table the item or to postpone to a time certain is properly received. So if a member makes a motion to table and a second.
But we already have a motion and a second. Something has to be done with that motion.
That's what you do is you can lay it on the table. Pursuant to section 30.22 of your city code, it states that the only motions that can be received when a question is under consideration are 7, which include to postpone to a time certain or to lay on the table. So what you can do is a motion to lay this on the table or postpone it to the December meeting, if that is what the request is. So that would be a motion that would be made and seconded. It would essentially be similar to a substitute motion.
That would give an opportunity to, look at, research, talk to, if there's something else that's there, and the council can come back in December and do this, but if that's what you want to do.
So right now, we're needing a motion to table this till September's meeting, is that?
The December meeting, yes, sir.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we table to get further input.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion to table, but I have a second.
Was that to December?
To December, yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll take that back up.
Thank you.
All right.
So we're going to check.
Now back to regular
Oh.
Mayor, do you just want to declare a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, I just did, I guess. 5 minutes recess. They declared it for me.
Thank you. I appreciate your willingness to make sure we did this correctly.
Well,
Because it's the one, essentially, it's
that's what people don't understand is that, and I guess I've been the big council really
It's like we're taking a recess. I'll just hear
all right, let's sit down, let's make sure that all procedures are proper.
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good now?
Hey, hang in there. Everything going well? That's great. Everything. Vietnam, Desert Storm, man. Thank you for your service.
Well, I know you're talking about.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Glad you're doing well. Good to see you.
I just it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Look good. Look good. But yeah, so and as a matter of fact, and I think I've made
what's going on?
mention to you before. I understand that a lot of
Hey, well,
powers that
looks like the days are good for you.
Good to see you. Of cities, just not taking.
Yeah, a lot of passion there. I think Lenny breathing. He's real passionate. They love him. We need to, everybody got a lot of passion. We need to just step back and look at it. Not be a highway. Or, we need to make everybody happy.
What happened is somebody's friend got upset and they got that.
Hey, Lady Jack. All right. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know.
I'd be happy to do that.
Good to see you. I saw that Rattler. Did Rattler tell you I saw her the other morning?
Send me something.
Just have to be careful. We traveling with history.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. Send it to me.
Hey, darling, how are you? Thank you for coming out tonight.
Right. We still got some things going. Yeah.
talking about what they want on the name or whatever.
That's a bit much. Yeah, that's a flag.
Do you want to, don't y'all have a neighborhood meeting? I mean, y'all got a committee over there. You want to take that up there and
I was going to suggest that
settle
too,
it.
that I come to our committee in Winchester.
And do that and bring it back and the council won't hear what it says. I mean, they won't have a problem with how they want it signed.
Okay, no problem.
So you got that on your next meeting?
I'll put it on.
All right, we took that. Yes.
Wherever you want.
Got everybody waiting on
Except for
one.
Mr. Anderson.
Well, okay, yeah, I was okay, we're back in session. Mr. Anderson will be here in a little bit, I guess. Consent agenda, Mr. Larry.
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. City Council uses the consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. I think it's still 6. Item 6 is for the purpose of awarding 2019-2020 asphalt paving program to Lynch's River Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $1,144,083.80 for the reclamation and overlaying of 10 streets at 11 locations. Item 7 is for the purpose of approving the formal assignment of $3 million of fund balance for the following downtown projects: resurfacing the parking lot on Church Street by the Railroad Depot, for which there is an anticipated cost share with Union County that is currently being negotiated. Second, creation of a parking lot at North Charlotte Avenue between the Senior Center, the new police headquarters, and City Hall. And the third, advancing the design of a one-way road conversion for Franklin and Jefferson Streets. Item 8A involves, item 8 involves minutes and reports. Item 8A involves disbursements from City Council's discretionary funds. There were 4 sets of disbursements, the first of which Mayor Bobby Kilgore dispersed $22 to the Union County Chamber of Commerce. Second, Mayor Pro Tem Anderson dispersed $175 to Health Pregnancy Center. Third, Councilmember Anthony dispersed $145 to Hearts for Monroe. And fourth, Councilmember McGee dispersed $500 to the Community Events Foundation. Item 8B involves financial reports for September 2019. As a summary, I'll highlight several fund balance amounts as of September 17th. Total fund balance is $32 million and change. A few subsets of total fund balance. Our fund balance reserved by policy, that's currently about $10,681,000. The unassigned general fund balance was $7.9 million. Total assigned fund balance is $639,000 and change. And there were 4 sets of minutes lettered 8C through F. Item G is summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, and city managers settlement claims. There are 32 contracts for the period totaling $223,000 and change, and there were no claims settled during the period. Item 9 is for the purpose of awarding the contract to Ertel Construction in the amount of $1,426,722 and to adopt the capital project budget ordinance in the amount of $249,150, adding those funds to the project NG 1903. And Mayor, members of the City Council, that concludes my synopsis of those items placed on your consent agenda.
I move that it be approved.
Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. We'll go to item 10, annexation and zoning map request, 11.25 acres located along Airport Road to be rezoned City of Monroe General Industrial, GI. That's a public hearing. This time, Doug, we recognize you, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm doing one presentation for both these agenda items, both the annexation and the rezoning. As stated, this is an annexation request for 11.25 acres. Subject property is outlined in blue, located, this is Airport Road, this location right here, and this is Griner Bio 1 of North America, who's requesting annexation. They are requesting so they can incorporate it into their existing facility. Property has already been purchased. This is the zoning map of the area. All the properties to the south are zoned GI General Industrial. To the west is Indian Trail, which is residential. To the north is R20, Union County. And then to the north in this area here is light industrial, Union County as well. Staff is requesting, as well as the applicant, they're requesting the property be brought in as general industrial. And to match their existing zoning district, I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any as well.
Council have any questions? Thank you, Doug.
And there's your marching orders if y'all so choose.
Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Hearing none. Is anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Motion that the petition meets the requirements of the North Carolina General Statute 168-31.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass.
Motion to adopt an ordinance to extend the corporate limits.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Item D.
Motion to adopt a resolution approving land development plan compliance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Item E.
Motion to adopt an ordinance amending the official zoning map.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. So that's, that item will pass. And we'll go to item 11, Economic Development Aircraft Incentive Grant. Chris Patay, we recognize you, sir, at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, Manager Faison, it's my pleasure to bring before you tonight an Economic Development Aircraft Incentive Grant request by SPX Corporation, otherwise referred to as Project X-Wing. This is exciting. This is the first time that we've been able to use this incentive grant option, and just want to give you a little information here. SPX Corporation is headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina in the Ballantyne Corporate Park. SPX Flight Department and our office have had ongoing conversations about basing aircraft at the Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport since 2008. So it's probably the longest project that we have been working toward. Again, the deal is not done yet, but definitely one that we're excited to see hopefully come to a positive end for Monroe. The company is considering a relocation of an aircraft worth approximately $9 million. The Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport is selected for the location of the plane's base of operations. The plane would be a tenant in the newest common hangar that Peter and his team are building that is currently under construction. The aircraft would consume 60% of that hangar's floor space, as well as 3 of the 4 office units that are within that hangar. The company has indicated that there are 3 factors that are critical to the aircraft's relocation. One of those being this incentive, 2, the direct international flights available via the U.S. Customs facility, and the utilization of the self-fuel storage agreement that is available through our fee schedule. Tonight, we are requesting your consideration of an Economic Development Aircraft Incentive Grant in the amount not to exceed $63,000 to be paid over 3 years beginning in FY 2021, based upon the Union County's tax office appraised value each year on the company's anticipated investment with this aircraft of $9 million. The Economic Development Aircraft Incentive Grant, looking at that and how we determine the grant is by taking the assessed value of the year the plane is placed here in Monroe and then multiplying that by 0.5%. That is the way the guidelines have been written in the past. What we're suggesting tonight is to change that, as you have the purview to do, is to change that grant factor to 0.7%. That basically modifies just increases the amount of that incentive. Basically, when the incentive guidelines were put in place, the tax rate was much lower. So this works basically to keep the cost benefit about the same for Monroe. The incentive would be paid in 3 installments. So basically taking the grant on what is being determined, which is that $63,000, and dividing it over those 3 years. So it would be a phased payment. 45% of that $63,000 would be paid in the first year, and that's $28,350, so an amount not to exceed that for the first year. The second year would be 30% of that total $63,000. $18,900 would be the not to exceed amount for year 2. And year 3 would be the final 25% remaining of the grant of that $63,000. And so it would not exceed $15,750. So, excuse me. Based on the current aircraft value and holding all factors constant, including depreciation, which the aircraft will depreciate, the company would pay an estimated ad valorem tax of $140,000 of the 63 that we would be incentivizing over that grant period. So if the plane comes late, then that incentive would shift 1 year. So they have to be appraised on January 1st. So if we cannot get that aircraft here and based here, that incentive would then slide to FY22. The actual tax revenue to the city will be based on the current tax rate applied to the assessed value every year as the plane does depreciate. But given this way, the incentive incorporates all of that and anticipates that the city will always get more money than what they will be receiving more money in tax than they would ever give in a grant for any particular year. So the Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport is if selected as the base of operations for this aircraft, the anticipated annual Jet A fuel consumption could be approximately 100,000 gallons per year. Again, more revenue to the city. Being that an aircraft does not truly fit within our cost-benefit analysis program, we don't have a cost-benefit for you. But if you think about it, a plane just sits there. It consumes gas, it flies, it pays taxes. It doesn't send kids to school, doesn't do water and sewer and those kind of things. So the cost-benefit really that we use would not apply in this case, but clearly there's a high benefit. Those benefits include rent for the hangar and the office. That includes fuel cells, use of our customs facility so we can get better utilization of that investment by the city, as well as new tax revenue to us. So if you, with all that, taking the project, we are looking to take this project to the Union County Board of County Commissioners. So that will go to them in closed session. They have never even considered an aircraft incentive before, so that's something that we'll talk about with closed session with them and then bring it to an open session for a public hearing here shortly, hopefully in the meeting in November. So therefore, the Monroe Union County Economic Development staff recommend the award of a performance-based economic development aircraft incentive grant to SPX Corporation or subsidiary, depending on how they're structured, in the amount not to exceed $63,000 in order to help secure this $9 million aircraft relocation to Charlotte Monroe Exec. We also ask that you would permit the appropriate staff to help develop the incentive agreement with the company based on the parameters that you are agreeing to tonight, and then allowing or giving authority to the mayor to authorize that agreement.
One question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said it will take up 60% of the new hangar, so it still leaves 40% that we could.
Exactly. So we already, I believe, and I don't want to speak for Peter, but I believe in your model, it was roughly $9.5 million you were anticipating for the entire hangar.
Okay.
So we're already looking at exceeding what the business model that was proposed to you to build the hangar.
And I do have two other prospects that are also in deep negotiation and are very interested in moving their aircraft into the hangar. So essentially, I have good confidence right now standing here before you today to say that hangar is completely filled.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution awarding the incentive agreement.
I've got to do the public hearing first.
Huh?
Do a public hearing first.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Any more questions for?
And you said they got 3 additional offices as well?
Yeah, we're, I think Peter's building 4 offices,
Right.
office
The hangar
units.
is a box hangar, hangar with an office section lean-to. It has a total of 4 offices. The company will be taking 3 of those offices. The other prospects that I've been discussing are interested in filling that 4th office. So we'll have all the facility completely filled up.
And the fuel storage agreement, the hangar rent, all that's going to be handled again like we do all of our other leases and stuff within the city.
Chris, how many, does this company just have the one plane, or do they have others that we could be getting?
The company divested was originally an odd mix. There was SPX Flow and SPX Corp. And so SPX Flow had the management of both. They had 2 aircraft. SPX Flow has now divested of their aircraft. SPX Corp has kept a more expensive one. It's a Challenger 605. And so that aircraft will be the one that would really, if everything works out and the business case works out for them, that they would relocate here. They could potentially, and we would come back to you if they bought a new aircraft This incentive does not stop them if they replace that airplane and bring a new airplane. We would then look to incentivize that aircraft as well. So there's the potential to keep growing.
Okay, and how long a lease will they sign for the hangar?
Based on the financing of the hangar, they're only allowed to do, if my understanding is correct, a one-year lease. So it would be a rolling one-year lease.
Okay.
And so that allows them that if they choose to expand later or build their own private hangar, that they can start that construction and roll out and give Feeder plenty of time to backfill that space.
If they decide to come, when do you anticipate them coming in January?
If things work out, as soon as the CO is given on the hangar, we would anticipate there would make a move.
And the CO is anticipated right now for middle of November, right after the year.
Oh, okay.
So it would be our hope that we would get them in and then have that asset on the ground and based in Monroe, January 1st, so then we are the based aircraft and the taxes would then come to us.
Any other questions, Chris? Hearing none, thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
This is a public hearing. Anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Hearing none. Anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Motion to adopt the resolution awarding incentive for labor.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. All in favor?
Well, Mayor, before you call the vote, one thing I would just note that the version in your packet does not specifically list SBX. However, Chris did send the clerk the corrected, the modified resolution that does name the company. So for purposes of this, just to make it absolutely clear, that's the resolution you're adopting, not the one that's in the packets, the published packets.
Okay, I have a motion. I did have a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass.
Motion to approve the incentive agreement.
Second. Have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that will pass. That will take care of that. That's passed. I believe that completes it, don't it? And we ain't overlooked nothing, have we? I think we got it all. Does council have anything they want to bring up?
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Adjourn. Okay, that's,